Aquarius, first of all, I feel that it's important you ground yourself this month in whatever way you feel is necessary. Because I was getting the feeling of like, you know, when you're on some type of ride at an amusement park that your feet are dangling, there was that feeling, right? There was that feeling of your legs dangling, especially your left leg. So it's important that you have a spiritual grounding as well, and to ground your spiritual beliefs and to ground the intangible into something real, right? Because as an air sign, not everything can exist as a concept and an idea and, you know, a philosophy. Eventually it's going to have to materialize. Everything can't be the wind. You know what I'm saying? So Spirit is encouraging you to do that this month. First out, we have the High Priestess with strength and the Eight of Pentacles. So what you're really focused on this month is drilling away at, again, strengthening your intuitive knowing, and again, making something out of it. I feel that's really important, because if we're not having confidence in what we perceive, if we're not having confidence in what we sense, and we're not putting it to work or taking that intuitive knowing and applying it to our job, right? If there's something that you've been sensing about your career and you're not really sure what to do with it, you know, the non-physical is calling to you in a big way. And again, I keep getting this heavy sensation in my feet of needing to like push into the earth. So you need to have confidence in what you know that can't be validated, and to really focus on how to bring that into fruition and to fine-tune your craft. Here with the Eight of Swords and the Three of Swords, it's important to not let any lingering memories of times where you've been backed into a corner limit you now, right? Because also thoughts, right? And thoughts can get out of hand really fast, right? Because we can go on a tailspin. Like one thing can lead to another thing, can lead to another thing, can lead to blah, 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 blah. Like we can just get all caught up, all right? So if we allow pain and memories of times where we were limited, a memory of times we did fail, lead our thought patterns and lead the conversation that we have with ourselves, we will continuously feel like we're backed into a corner. Because this is a little bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't energy, okay? And here we have the Tower with the Hierophant. So there are conclusions that you had been settled in, or rather indecisions. I think this is more of the case. You've been kind of indecisive on where you really stand with commitment, right, to anything, right? Like, what do I really want to invest in long term? Like, even if you've been doing something for a long time in your job, right? If you've been in the same career field for a long time, or you've been doing something for this long time, or held the same beliefs for a long time, it doesn't mean they really resonate with you, okay? So there's this kind of like blind eye you've had turned to, one, your views on commitment and what it's going to take for you to close a chapter and come to another one. Because there's something that is getting unearthed, most likely at the eclipse on the 12th, that is going to bring into question, are you living for yourself, or are you living for what you were told is appropriate for you? Or have you rebelled against the system purely for the sake of it? And where does that meet with your actual desires? Because sometimes we are a rebel without a cause. You know what I mean? And we try to just pretend like it's not a big deal. But I feel there is clarity coming this month about where your own beliefs meet society's beliefs, where your radicalism meets your conservatism, if you will. And there's going to be a blending, I feel. All right, Aquarius, I almost called you Taurus. So I don't know if this is a Taurus person down here, but I do think work is a big part of this. For a lot of you, I think this is career-based, but overall just life, okay? There's a ton of blue on the table. Like, this is pretty much all blue. So I almost want to say there's shades to thought, right? Meaning like we can be in a light place with our thought process, right? Look how they're moving from a tumultuous time to a more peaceful time, and there's a lot of levity, right, in the air, in the blue. And then in these heavier times, right, there's more darkness when there's more introspection, and then we have to deal with heavier stuff. There's a lot more cloudy energy, right? And then when there's actual, issues, it gets more gray. I don't know what is on this card. And when it's time for victory, the color of blue becomes more royal, right? But so it's like inside the same thing, there's multiple layers and spectrums, right? So it's not about abandoning your thought process or abandoning what you know to be true. It's more about shifting into a different shade, okay? I'm getting so much energy in my feet and in my knees down, okay? And there's a lot of unsureness with where you're going to take your next step. I'm not sure if, again, this is because of something that has happened. I think it's more hesitation. Maybe a fear of not, it's like I'd rather do nothing than do the wrong thing type of energy. Your overall energy this month is the 9 of Wands, which is basing our next move on what has transpired up until now. And this could be over a course of several years. So it's like you're looking at all the actions you've taken, whether it be, again, in like personal relationships, in work, in life in general. I feel like this is overall like what Aquarius has done, right? That has led them to where they are right now. And you're aware that not every single wound has healed, right? And it's funny because his bandage is on his head, and I'm talking about thoughts and having to look at the range of things. And it's like, I won't get hit over the head again, right? Because when you get hit over the head, there's a concussion or there's some type of mental disruption. So it's like, I won't get blindsided again. And if we wholeheartedly believe that we have embodied the lessons that we have learned from all these things that have transpired that brought us to the point we're at now, then would there be anything to fear? Would there be anything that we need to defend ourselves against? Because there's this idea that the next action that you take is going to be defensive, right? It's not going to be one of that's propelling you forward. It's one that's going to repel, not propel, repel. So, and I'm called to talk about Tai Chi, right? And the art of Tai Chi is with yielding. So the idea is that when you're sure-footed and you are in a malleable state, right? A flowing state, you understand that your opponent, who is focused on attack, right? Only, is going to put all their force towards striking you. But if you're focused on being fluid, even though you're technically moving from the defense, you have the power to yield. And when they go to strike in an area that you yield, they fall, and you didn't actually have to take any action at all, right? So it's not about needing to take a bunch of action, but more so knowing when to fold, right? Knowing when to yield and not hide or be afraid of what is to come, okay? What you're being asked to be released this month, we have the Star in the World. And on the Star, we have luck. So with the Star being your card, Aquarius, I do feel it's important that you understand that though there are times when the universe moves mountains in our favor, right, and opens several doors and kind of pops us through the door, if you will, that's not always the case, right? If we want to really close a chapter and come to a point of celebration and come to a point where we're going to open new doors and step into a new energy and really, live a different life, we can't run on luck alone, right? Like, luck cannot be our belief system, right? And luck meaning like things just happen for us, right? There has to be some level of co-creation. And I feel there's a little bit of a fear of participation in your life. Like, obviously you wake up every day and you participate in your life. Like, obviously, you know, you are who you are. But are you an active change maker in your life? Or do you wait for opportunities to land for you and things to be just so, and then you decide to respond to them? Because vulnerability also doesn't happen by luck either, right? Vulnerability is a choice. We can live our whole lives guarded. We can live our whole lives, you know, being unsure and being, you know, kind of withdrawn. No one is going to make us take that final step to really, you know, come out and be seen by the world. Okay? So it's important to, and both of these cards are naked, by the way. So there's a huge level of being stripped down. And that's not going to happen by chance. It's going to happen by choice. All right? The door that's not open that was once closed. We have the Eight of Cups with the rune Self. And we have the Devil. So with that, the devil being, right, the things that we're addicted to, for better or worse. And addiction is a very heavy word that usually is associated with something that is like overtly harmful to our vessel, but that's not really the case. Sometimes we're addicted to playing small. Sometimes we're addicted to living in the past. Sometimes we're addicted to being avoidant, right? Like, we don't really want to take responsibility for all of our actions, so we pretend that we didn't do that, or we don't really feel into the levity of our actions, or we allow people to act however they're going to act, and we don't really hold them accountable, right? There's a lot of different ways that we can feed into codependency as well. There's a lack of dependency at all. That's another thing. Codependency is obviously bad. It means, you know, one person is highly enabling. And I mean, technically both people are enabling because they're both allowing unhealthy behavior. But the other side of that too is if we're extremely detached, right? If we're afraid to make any type of attachment, that's not healthy either, because that's a lot of fear there of like someone else is going to consume you. So are you prepared to leave the parts of yourself behind that are limiting you from living your highest expression? Because this is really not about anybody else, not about any in particular section of your life. I feel it's an overall identity, and a part of your identity that is holding you down. And the only reason that you're so heavily invested in it, just because it's easy. And it's something that you know. It's like you can easily describe yourself. And there's this idea that if you shed this skin, right? Like a snake, if you shed and molt this skin, you're suddenly not going to recognize yourself in the mirror. And that's like scary, right? Because, you know, you partially live in the future anyways mentally. So you're like, why do I have to change and keep up with these humans? Like, you know what I mean? To prove something to these humans. Like, I know where I mentally reside. But it's time to make the exterior match the interior, right? And really start to do some type of soul level overhaul. Your current energy as it relates to all of this. In your head, we have the Six of Swords. In your heart, the Two of Swords with the rune Journey. And in your head, in your foundation, excuse me, you have the King of Pentacles. So again, for some of you, this may be about Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, or it can just be about your job, right? Or the things that you're really comfortable in. Because the King of Pentacles feels very, very confident about the fact that he has everything that he needs and he's good. Like, if it was up to him, he wouldn't change a damn thing for the next 500 years. Like, he's content. He's maxed out. He feels like he's you know, at the top of his game. He's a king, especially with the physical world. So you may be in a position where you're really unchallenged by your work or unchallenged by the circumstances in your life, and you've gotten really comfortable with that. And the idea of changing things just to add a level of competition, if you will, or a level of challenge seems like, well, why would I do that? Life is easy. Why would I make it hard for myself? You know what I mean? With the Two of Swords here in the rune Journey, again, there's this indecision, and I feel more than anything, it's a fear of making the wrong decision. So it's like, oh, I'd rather not do anything. This way I can just respond to what's happening outside of me, and I don't have to take complete responsibility because all I'm doing is just responding to what's in front of me, right? And that is an avoidant approach to life. And again, I think it's more so out of a desire to not leave your comfort zone. And because journey is here with the heart, I feel that you are to an extent conflicted about where you're even headed in life overall. Like, you know, but you don't know. And you don't really want to pay attention to it because you know that if you pay too much attention to it, it's really going to bother you. But with the Six of Swords in your headspace, at the end of the day, you know, right? Logically, right? You're not quite there yet emotionally. You haven't quite let it sit in to your heart. But mentally, you know things have to change, right? And it doesn't have to be as hard as you've talked it up to be, right? It doesn't have to be that challenging. I don't know why this is so dark. And just because you're changing, or just because your identification with yourself is changing, doesn't mean you're going to lose the people around you. In the Six of Swords, the whole family moves, right? And so there isn't really a loss of memory, and there isn't really a loss of identity or thoughts or the way of being. It's just a transition. It's just a necessary shift, because sometimes it is our conditions, right, that hold us back, or our surroundings that hold us back. But if we have the consciousness and the cognizance to recognize that, you know what, I'm not in the best environment for growth. The only way that's a victim stance is if we don't do anything about it. So if you've been thinking about moving your job, changing jobs, moving in general, okay, or just moving on to a different life form, I feel like the need to say, no one's going to make you do it. You have to push yourself to do it, okay? Because, and it's time to really think about where you see your life going, and understand that you can change it again, right? But you don't really want spirit to change it on your behalf. You want to be an active agent, okay, of change in your own life. Spirit's advice for you is beautiful, the Six of Wands with the Three of Pentacles. And on the Three of Pentacles is the rune Love. So if you've been thinking about going back to school, or getting some kind of training, or collaborating with somebody to build something, or going out into your community and sharing more of yourself with others and around something you love, right? Building something that you love, you will be successful in that. People will instantly recognize your talent. People will instantly recognize your passion. People will instantly recognize that you have something very, very valuable to offer. Okay, so if you are afraid that, you know, if you put your resume out there, you're just going to like make a lateral move, or that you're not, it's, you know what I mean, you're not going to get the money that you're really worth, or anything like that, that's not the case. Now with love, the love rune here, this could be a romantic situation where you've been on the fence, or kind of just been in a very like low level of dating, or completely single for a long time. And Spirit is saying that your value will be recognized, and you will have a lot of people that see you and give you attention if you put yourself out there, and they will be offering you something tangible that you can really build with, okay? But you have to make yourself seen, okay? The Six of Wands talks about being seen. So it's time to put your skills on display. It's time to put your heart on display, not in an insanely vulnerable way, like, oh my God, look at me. I'm so like, you know, this, and like talking about all your emotions. It's not like that. It's in a practical way. You have to show the value of what you care about, right? Through some type of physical act. The energy and most likely outcome moving into August is the Five of Swords with the rune Healing and the Four of Wands. So if there's been a lot of disagreements in your home, or a lot of, or if you grew up in a home or a community that you weren't really heard, and there was a lot of whole, like, you can't be yourself because, like, it's always going to be an argument. Like, you know, sometimes there's some people that are just so unhappy with their life, they just want to argue about everything, right? I feel that's getting healed, right, with the healing rune here. I feel that there's an understanding that we can't argue about everything, and we can't, you know, we can agree to disagree. on things, and we also don't have to prove ourselves to anybody, because if people have ill intentions for us, it doesn't matter how much we want to build a home with them, or we want to, you know, show them that you're a safe space or create a safe space. Some people just don't have the ability to do that. Now, if you have been avoiding commitment, or if you've been avoiding, again, sharing yourself in a very public way, in a very out in the open type of way, I feel that because of in the past, again, you were shunned or something, like you just, you know, people didn't hear you. It was always like aggravation. I feel that's getting healed. I don't think that it's going to continue to be that way. I think it's just a wound, and you're going to get through that this month. Y'all are my shortest reading of the month so far. Leave it to Aquarius. Let's get y'all an affirmation. Spirit. Got one right there. I am ready to be healed. I am willing to forgive. All is well. I love and accept my family exactly as they are right now. Someone else got this. Was it Cancer? I think it was. Somebody else got this month. But it's okay to accept, you know, that, you know, birds of a feather flock together. It's okay to accept that not everyone is perfect, just like you're not perfect. And healing is available for everybody, okay? And it's not going to happen overnight, but it is a worthy journey, all right? Aquarius, I love y'all. Wishing you the best month. Peace.